What's up, guys? Joel Valley from Media Glitch. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for joining us this lovely night, letting us in your home. If you're watching this on TV, don't forget to go over to YouTube. Give us some love over there. If you're watching this for the first time, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. And I am here with the lovely Megan. Megan, say hello to our people here.
Howdy, guys.
And we both went to Game On Expo.
We sure did. It was awesome.
And we've seen a lot of panels. We did a lot of things.
A lot of panels.
And Ashley, who's not here, who should be sitting in your chair. You know, can I call you Ashley? No, I can't.
I'm just the shorter version of Ashley.
Yeah, yes. Ashley's lovely. You're lovely. Thank you so much. She did an interview with Master Chief.
What?
Yeah, Steve Downes. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
I like how his name is spelled D-O-W-N-E-S. Ness? Yeah? Steve Downes. So anyway, we're going to cut to this Master Chief. That joke did not land good at all.
No, it didn't.
Interview. So and we'll end it after that. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you, guys. It's a long interview. You're going to love it. Just take it all in. Take all the Halo goodness in.
Well, without further ado, I'd like to announce the man behind the legendary helmet, Steve Downes. See, stairs are for chumps.
Yeah.
Master Chief doesn't need stairs.
Hi, everybody. How are you? Thanks for coming.
Well, I appreciate you coming out to Arizona.
Thank you, Ash. You know, I love Phoenix in August. I just think it's the... Not.
I was going to say, I don't know if you're facetious or not, because that rain was pouring yesterday.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed that, but what I do love is Game On. This is my second one. I did the first one 2 years ago when you guys were still in Mesa, and I'm just amazed at how much it's grown, and the fans are a delight as always, and it's a gas to be here. I really have a lot of fun.
Me too. Well, I'll go ahead and dive into these questions. Did you ever think that the Halo franchise would explode like it did?
No, when we did Combat Evolved, which was 2001, we recorded it in 2000, I think, but I had no idea, and I'm pretty sure that Bungie had no idea either. It was, Marty O'Donnell, who was the guy who cast all the voices and wrote and performed a lot of the music in Halo 1, 2, and 3 and Reach. I had done a small part in a little PC game that they had put together the year before called Subterra Core. I encourage all of you not to go try to find it. But that was actually my first entree into doing any kind of gaming work. And so we did that. It was a lot of fun. Marty, I used to do a radio show in Chicago, and he would listen to me on the radio, and he thought I'd be right for this character, and so we did it. And then about a year later, he called again and said, we have a new game we're working on. Would you like to come out and do this character? So I often say, the world of voiceover is 99% rejection, and hopefully you get the 1% where you actually get the gig. And those 99%, the first 99 are auditions. You audition, no, and then maybe one of them will land. Halo, which is obviously the biggest thing I've ever done, is also the only gig that I never auditioned for. He called and said, "You're the guy, come on in and do it." And so we had no idea, and I'm not even sure when we did Halo 1 that they were really even planning on a Halo 2. This was going to be, their first big game. This was going to be the flagship game for Xbox, but I don't think anybody really thought it was going to be what it ended up being. And it was months before I realized what it had become, because I was not a gamer, so I was not in that world at the time. And several months after the game came out, I was down at a friend's house in Florida, and his kids were playing Halo. And I remember walking through the family room and noticing the game, and it was like it was familiar. And I said, I think I voiced a character in that game. And the kids are like, "What?" And I said, yeah, well, who was it? And I had literally forgotten the name of the character. And I said, you know, I can't remember, but I think he was kind of the main guy in the game. And they said, Master Chief? Yeah, it was Master Chief. Well, within 20 minutes, there's a line outside these folks' door of kids in the neighborhood who had come bringing their Xboxes or their copies of the game for me to sign. And this just blew me away. I had no idea. We immediately made a beeline to the local GameStop, and they had a huge cardboard cutout of Master Chief, you know, in the entryway of the game. And so this was all just flooding into my head, you know, like, oh my God, what's going on here? And thus began the journey that brings me here and all the great things that have happened since then.
That's amazing. What was one of your favorite lines to record as Master Chief?
You know, I always, I'm asked that a lot, and I don't really have a personal, I can tell you that the lines, the dialogue between Cortana and Master Chief at the end of Halo 4 is my favorite scene that I've ever done for a lot of reasons. But it was, you know, there was a lot of emotion involved in that, and you know, Cortana is, spoiler alert, dying at that point. And so it was, plus it was the first time that Jen Taylor and I actually worked in the same room together. And so that was a lot of fun. And so I can't recall a favorite line from that, but that I just remember doing that scene and how much enjoyment that was. And quite honestly, it was, you know, challenging. And so I always really default to your favorite lines. And I think we know what they are, you know, finish the fight. I need a weapon. Yeah, the old standbys. So, you know, so I hear that, so that's what I attach to, because that's what the fans are attached to, so.
Oh, did you feel like you grew into Master Chief as you played him?
I would like to think so. When we did the first couple of games, you know, Master Chief was pretty much I mean, I often said if I got paid on the number of times I said, Cortana, you know, I'd be a rich man. I said that a lot. And, but that's who he was, you know, he was the, you know, sort of a man of few words. The beautiful part about doing, as a voice actor, doing a game like Halo is there's such a rich universe beyond the game. You know, there's all the books and the comic books and the fan films and all this lore around Halo that was just a gold mine for me to draw from. Because if I had to only draw from what his dialogue was, there wasn't much there in the first couple of games. So you had, and yet, you know, it was important to bring some kind of, you know, humanity to the guy, and I was able to draw on, you know, books like The Fall of Reach, which was tremendously helpful because you got to understand where he came from and how he got to where he was, and then hopefully bring some of that into the reads when it came time to do them. So that was just you know, a blessing to be able to have that to draw from.
Do you now own any Halo merchandise?
Oh, a little bit. My wife was. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, my daughter was in town and her kids, and yes, Master Chief is a grandpa. I actually started to divest myself of some of my Master Chief, you know, because I have a 4-year-old grandson, and I had this vision of I would save all this stuff for him when he was old enough to know what it was. Well, I got one of those Master Chief, you know, statues about this high. And he took one look at that, and he was like, G-Pong, I want that. But yeah, and the cool thing is the stuff that I get from fans, and I've gotten some things while I've been here at Game On, the fan-generated stuff, which is, so, you know, somebody's gave me the idea yesterday that I should start, you know, assembling all that stuff and you know, put it up on Facebook, because I get some really cool things. My favorite, the poor thing is pretty much dead now, but somebody made a Master Chief dolls about this high, one completely out of duct tape, And it's all the colors are all true and all that, and it was really amazing. And it's literally all duct tape. Now, unfortunately, after a while, the duct tape. So poor Master Chief is kind of. He's not doing too well at the moment, but yeah. So I get a lot of that kind of stuff, which is pretty cool. My favorite thing right now is a life-size scale plasma rifle. And I think they only made about 900 of them. And the 343 people gave me one. I was actually supposed to give it away at an auction. Well, that never happened.
I know.
I meant to, but yeah, there's some cool Halo paraphernalia out there that I was able to get my hands on some of it.
That's really cool. Do you feel like you poured any of your personality into your roles as Master Chief?
Well, I'd like to think so. You know, unfortunately, we're on camera, because if we weren't, I'd say, well, yeah, I'm 7'5" and 475 pounds and no body fat. Yeah, I'd like to think I put a little bit of it. But unfortunately, we're on camera, and that's not true. But I think any actor doing it, whether it's a video game or it's an on camera or it's a commercial, you have to bring some of yourself into it in order to make it real. You know, that's part of what acting is, and so I'd like to think that I bring, you know, something deep inside that you know, manifests itself in Master Chief. But the nice thing about it is I love the guy. I mean, I just love his character. I love who he is, and I love what he stands for, and I love how he moves through his universe. So it's easy for me to sort of, you know, slip into the Mjolnir there and pretend like. Plus the fact is, you know, I'm living in childhood fantasy here. I mean, you know, especially, you know, young boys who didn't dream of, you know, when I was growing up, it was Superman and Batman and Spider-Man. Who didn't dream of, you know, pretending like you were one of those guys? And so here I am, much later on, doing that, you know, with Master Chief. So it is a bit of a fantasy that came true.
Are there any other like big roles you've ever wanted to take on?
Well, nothing really that comes to mind. I mean, you know, every role has an appeal to it. I mean, you know, I mean, even when you're doing the simplest of things, you know, like a I don't know, a car commercial or something. If you can bring something to that you know, helps sell cars, then you've done your job. And with the video game stuff, if you can, you know, and this has happened with Halo and with Master Chief, I mean, the number of times I've heard from people that they grew up with the game, or that it got them through some difficult time in their life, you know, that's so rewarding to hear, because most actors do not get that personal feedback from your fans, and it's only through conventions like this that's able to happen. Most of the time we do work, you know, you never see your audience, much less hear from them, and to be able to get that kind of feedback is incredibly rewarding, and it makes the job even that much more fun.
Was recording difficult on your vocal cords at any time, like for screams, falling?
It presents some challenges. The first, when we did Combat Evolved, you know, like I said, I was completely new to this world, and we did a couple of days of doing his lines, and then the last day was what I would call the death sessions, because you have to record all the various ways that you guys screw up and Master Chief gets killed. So, you know, and you get all these directions like, okay, he's you know, got his limbs cut off and he's falling from a 4-story building into a boiling, you know, sea of fire. What's, you know, go! You know? So, you know, and you'll do that for a couple hours, and after a while, it can be straining on your vocal cords. I think I'm lucky because that doesn't happen a lot, and there are other voice actors. You know, if you get a chance to talk to, you know, Troy Baker, you know, I'm sure he can tell you stories of where it does, you have to, sort of protect the merchandise as much as you can. And there are techniques to do that to not damage your vocal cords. And the main thing is to know when to say when. And that oftentimes is up to you and not the director when you have to say, you know what, we're done for today because I'm going to start getting into that area where it's going to start damaging the equipment here, and I don't want to do that. So, but in all honesty, most of the time I've been fortunate that I'm, as you can hear, my range is, I'm not going wow all that much. So it does. I'm lucky like that.
Which Halo was your favorite to make?
Halo 4 was my favorite. For number one, because I was just glad to be back doing it. Halo 4, as you know, was the first game that was not a Bungie game, and 343 had taken it over, and there was no guarantee that I was going to continue in the role. In fact, I was pretty sure I wasn't going to continue in the role, and when we worked that out and I was able to, and then when I read the story, which, another sidebar, up until Halo 4, I had never gotten a script in advance. The first time I would see a script was the day we were going to do it. So, you're kind of operating on the fly at that point. And this time I insisted that I would be able to get, because they're very secretive. They don't want this stuff to get out ahead of time and all that. But I insisted that I'd be able to live with the script, for a while before we were going to go in to do it. And that was extremely helpful, obviously. And we started to flesh out the character more than we had in the first 3 games. And it was also the first time I worked with Jen Taylor. We were in the same room together doing, our work, and that was very motivational and inspirational for me. She's a great actress, and she helped. I'd like to think we helped each other, but she sure helped me in sort of bringing out some of the things that we needed to do with Master Chief. So that was the story was my favorite, and what I got to do with it was very rewarding at the end of the day.
Have the newer Halo games kind of discouraged you as Master Chief, or have the new Spartans like Locke do you think they'll be able to carry on a good legacy?
Well, that's a good question. Much of the criticism of Halo 5 was that there was not enough Chief. We want more Chief. So, but I like the story. I like the story of what Halo 5 was. But I think and 343. I don't think I'm speaking out of school here, where they were like message received. The Chief still needs to be that's who's running the show here. And so even though I thought the story was interesting, and certainly what happened with Cortana and all that stuff was very interesting, I think they needed to and hopefully will sort of bring it back down to the core elements of the story, which is the Chief's adventures. And now that Cortana's completely off the rails, what are we going to do about that? And so I think we'll be getting back to that part.
That was going to be my next question. If you think that you will continue being Chief for another decade.
Well, another decade. Look, I will. I love doing it. So it's not up to me as to what will happen, but I certainly hope that I'll be continuing in that role, and I'm not tired of doing it. And I think there's still a big story to be told here. And where we left off with Halo 5 is, we need to fix this, and it'll be very interesting where it goes. And I certainly hope that I'll be part of that.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions out there? Hands? Not everybody. Yes, sir.
I think I asked yesterday, but I want to get more insight from you. I know Showtime is doing a new Halo.
So I hear, yeah.
If they asked you, would you do it? And if they had some input, like what kind of things would you want them to explore in the show? We don't know anything about it yet, so.
Okay, so I don't know if you can hear him, but he's asking about the Showtime series that is in development and is a Steven Spielberg executive production that is going to start. The production, is, from what I understand, is going to start next year. And will I be a part of it? Or do I want to be a part of it? Let me think about it. Yeah. I'd love to be a part of it. It's going to be a 10-episode series on Showtime, and again, I don't have any insight into it. I have not been contacted about it yet. I don't know what the story will be. Last I heard is that Master Chief is going to have a prominent role, but it is not up to me. Now, if any of you out there on your Facebook and Twitter accounts feel so inclined as to suggest to the powers that be that you would like me to continue that role, far be it from me to stop you. So yeah, it would be. I think it's a great idea. It's going to be live action, of course, and it would be. It's going to be tremendous, and I can't wait to see it. And hopefully, you know, hopefully that will happen.
Who else? Way in the back.
This is a little generic, and you might have done it at the beginning, but can you give us a real quick, this is John 117 or something like that?
Surprised we didn't do that.
This is Spartan 117, Master Chief. Oh yeah. Cortana.
Pay this man $1. Someone just lost their pants over there. Who else?
Oh, I'm sorry. Nobody
He was like,
needed to see that.
So I'm interested in pursuing commercial voiceover as well as I do audiobook narration already.
Oh, okay.
And just wondering, does the background in radio really help a lot in getting your voice heard?
Okay. So he's interested in doing voiceover and does some audiobooks and wanted to know if my radio background helped me in voiceover. Yes and no. It helped. It certainly got me in the door, if you will. The problem, you know, I did radio. I did a radio show for over 40 years, and you know, that's a particular kind of delivery. And it's been pretty much the same delivery for some 40 years. So the problem with that, as it relates to voiceover, is that, you know, oftentimes I'd do my show, and that's a 4 or 5 hour show. I'd get off and go to my agents to audition for something, and sometimes it's hard to shift gears and to take off that you know, the disc jockey and put on the, you know, whatever it is you're going to do. And sometimes that would be a challenge. And I find, because I don't do a radio show full time anymore, it's easier for me to get into character for whatever it is that I'm auditioning for. So yes, it helped me because it introduced me to this, you know, and but it could also be a hindrance because it you know, sometimes it could be hard to take one hat off and put on another. So if that answers it.
Yes, thank you.
Question.
Who else? How about this little guy in the front?
What was your least favorite game to voiceover?
My least favorite game? Oh, none of them were. No, I mean, really, you know, Reach, because I didn't have that many lines. That was my least favorite. They're all special in one way or another, so, yeah.
Who else?
There's some folks way in the back there.
Yeah.
How about the way one in the back, and we'll work our way out?
Wait.
Okay.
Who's your favorite blue team member?
My favorite blue team member.
Red versus blue. Red versus blue.
We didn't ask the audience, we asked the man.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Thank you. Refresh my memory. Who?
Linda, Kelly, Red. Frank.
Frank, Fred, Bob. Sarah's not blue team, is she? Sarah Palmer? No. Yeah, huh?
She's on the UNSC Infinity.
Right, that's right. That's Jennifer Hale, who's here today. I said this. I said to her, you know, we should do like a little scene together, like from Halo. Except that my memory is every time Sarah Palmer says something, the chief is like,
Okay.
wah wah. Yeah. Okay. Improv. Right there on the end of the black shirt. That would be you. I love it. He looked at his shirt.
You, young man. Yes.
Are you gonna make a Halo 6?
Well, we kind of touched on this, but I hope so. There will be a Halo. I don't right now. It's being called Halo Infinite, and I'm sure it will. It's going to be made, and I'm hoping that I will be, taking part in it. I think it's going to be a while yet. We're already off the 3-year cycle, so hopefully next year. But I don't really know. But there will definitely be another Halo. I think that's without a doubt. There better be. Yeah, right there.
What's something you changed about the Halo story?
Something that I changed? Nothing really. I told this story earlier today. Somebody was asking me about it. Because, the script, when you do a video game, there's not a lot of, at least in Halo, there was not a lot of room for improv. Because, like I said, the visual is pretty much already established by the time you go in to record the lines. So you can't really veer off much from what their intent is, because they've already done it. The one thing that I remember when we did Halo 3 and the cinematic where Master Chief finally puts an end to 343 Guilty Spark. So, and if you remember Guilty Spark, he was kind of a pain in the ass, And I know the guy, Tim Dadabo, is the voice of Guilty Spark, and we're neighbors and friends and know each other. And he is completely all in when it comes to Halo. But I have to say, I did have some personal satisfaction in putting an end to him. there was a little oomph in that. But so when that's happening, and I can't remember why, but Marty was like, let's kind of riff on it a little bit, or he said, you want to add anything to this? Because I can't remember what his exact lines were when he actually does away with it. So just to back up a little bit, the original inspiration for Master Chief was Clint Eastwood. And Marty said to me, because when we did Combat Evolved, I didn't even have a picture of Master Chief to look at. So it was strictly Marty telling me, and Joe Staten, here's the universe, here's the character, here's who he is, here's what he does. And then Marty said, think of Clint Eastwood when he was doing the old spaghetti westerns, Fistful of Dollars and all that. And he said, he's kind of like that. He doesn't say much, but when he does, somebody usually dies. So that's go with that. So anyway, fast forward to Halo 3 and the scene of killing Guilty Spark. I started to riff on the famous Dirty Harry scene where he's got the guy, down in the coffee shop or whatever it was, and he starts trying to remember how many bullets are left in the gun, and he's like, in all the excitement, I lost count. Was that 3 shots or was it 4? Well, you're feeling lucky, punk. So I do that riff as I'm about ready to finish off Guilty Spark. And everybody loves it. Oh, it's great. Boom, cut. On the cutting room floor, never saw the light of day. So maybe it was too close to Clint Eastwood, so maybe there was some copyright issues there or something. But yeah, it's been pretty tight to. I've never been, at least not that comes to mind, in a situation where I thought, Master Chief wouldn't say that, you know. I can't really recall a time when that's happened. The writers have been, I think the writers have been excellent, and they've been pretty good at you know, keeping him, you know, focused on as who the character was. Like, you know, sometimes that will happen, you know, you'll be doing a character, especially if it's a character you're very familiar with and have done over and over again. And then some new guy comes in, he's writing lines for it, and it was like, no, he wouldn't say that, you know, he wouldn't do that. That's so out of line with what his is. And I can't think of a time when that really happened, so, which has been great.
Who else? This gentleman here.
I guess I do have a question, but first I would like to start out with, when CE came out, I was going through like horribly bad times, and somebody's like, here goes this game, play it. And it changed my life.
Wow.
I started traveling to tournaments and playing
Oh,
Halo.
wow.
I mean, dun 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 dun. Yeah. All I gotta hit, like, even today, if I'm in the car and I hear it, dun dun dun,
Da, 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 da.
So I guess I wanted to say that piece, and my question is, do you need a weapon?
I always need a weapon. Thank you. But it's, you know, that's exactly the kind of stuff I'm talking about. I don't know if you could hear it, but you know, the game, you know, when Combat Evolved came out, it was at a rough time in his life, and it helped him get through a rough time. And that's, again, not to repeat myself, but it's very rewarding as an actor to have some small part in that. And you know, that's hearing that kind of stuff also enriches you know, my participation in it, because then it's more than just a gig. You know, it's, believe me, it's a great gig, and it's been Master Chief has been very good to me. but it's that makes it more than that. That makes it something that, like, wow, you know, you had some small part in helping somebody, you know, just, you know, get along a little better, and you know, I mean, what can be better than that? You know, it's great.
Gentleman in the blue.
Do you ever get online and play?
Oh no, horribly. So Halo 2 comes out, and so I'm thinking, you know, I really need to get up to speed here and, you know, see what all the fuss is about. So I go out and get myself an Xbox, and I come home. I was single at the time, and come home to my apartment, set it up, and get it all ready. And I'm okay. Here we go. And Halo 2. What I remember is Chief is in a room and he's got to get out and get busy. And for the life of me, I couldn't figure out how to get him the hell out of this room. I'm looking around for, like, you know, here, you know, exit, you know, this way, dummy, you know, something. And he's just bouncing off walls. So I'm doing this for about an hour and a half, and I was like, well, maybe this isn't really my skill set, you know. Maybe I don't have the hand-eye coordination or whatever it takes. So, you know, what drew me to doing this was the story, and I was immediately captivated by the Halo story and Chief's role in it. And I've always been a big science fiction fan, so, you know, all this stuff just drew me right in. It was not the gameplay, because I suck at it, and so it had to be something else. So my feeling is, you guys handle the gameplay, I'll handle the voice of Master Chief, and hopefully it'll all be I have been, one of the very first appearances I ever made on behalf of Halo and Master Chief was at there was a game store opening in Florida, in Fort Lauderdale, I think it was. And I remember the guy called me up and said, would you come down for our opening, a grand opening? And I had never done anything like that before. And I don't really know much about it. And he said, oh, just come on down. And I was living in Chicago, and this was going to be in November or December. So I'm like, okay, Florida in November, and you're going to pay my plane ticket? Okay. So I said, I have two conditions. Number one, I don't dress up as the character. And number two, I don't play the game. So don't include either one of those things and we'll be fine. He's like, oh yeah, that's great. So I go down, well, he completely ignores what I tell him. And unbeknownst to me, they're having a contest where the winner is going to play me at Halo. So I find this out and I said, dude, I told you I don't play the game, I'm horrible at it. You know, this will be a big disappointment to everybody and, you know, he said, don't worry about it. We've rigged the game. So it was on what they called the Juggernaut setting, and they actually had a professional Halo player sort of behind the screen who was going to really be playing, and they just handed me a dummy controller, right? And the pro player was going to play for me, and nobody would be the wiser. So the contest is over. An 11-year-old girl wins the right to play me at Halo. Even with the pro player behind the screen, she cleaned our clock in about 15 seconds. I'm not kidding you. And I'm telling you, you have never been more humiliated than have an 11-year-old girl look at you like, really? You're Master Chief. So, never again was I ever going to be put in that position. And I heard recently, actually, this happened years ago, obviously it was when Halo 2 came out. I talked to the guy who set the whole thing up. He said that girl went on to be a pro player and, like, you know, made a lot of money and did very well. I wish I knew her name. Yeah, she had the goods, that's for sure.
Who else? Gentlemen are here, black and white.
I was working with Keith David.
Keith David, who the voice of Arbiter, is a fantastic guy. I met him at, where's my agent? Where's Chris? MomoCon in Atlanta several years ago. And I had been, I was the fanboy in that scene, right? Because I thought, and not just as a voice talent, I've always had a tremendous respect for him as an actor. And so we were there together at MomoCon, and I was like, I am not worthy. I am not worthy. And he's a super nice guy and a great talent, and you know, and God, what a set of pipes, right? Jeez, he was amazing. But yeah, really cool dude and a very interesting guy.
Who else we got? Gentleman here. Yes.
Is there any story that you like to tell or haven't had a chance to tell about playing Chief that you would like to tell?
God, I feel like I've told all of the stories there are to tell. Nothing that comes to mind. No, I don't. It's been a. No, I can't. You know, nothing that really. Well, there's one story, but I don't think I'm going to tell that one. So, sorry, I'm going to keep that one in my back pocket. I told it once and it got me in trouble, so I'm not going to tell it again. Sorry. There is one, yeah. You just can't know it. That's all.
We'll take one from over here. Gentleman in the blue.
At what point in the development of a game do you do your lines?
It's pretty late in the development. Usually, the games usually come out in the fall. He asked at what point do I get involved as far as voicing the character. So the games, they usually, I don't know, I'm sure it's by design, I'm not privy to what it is, but they always seem to come out in November. I guess it's, you know, at the beginning of Christmas season, you know, Christmas buying season. So with that in mind, on Halo 5 and Halo 4, we would start recording early, like February, for a November release. So I would start working in January, February, March, April, and then maybe go as late as June. Usually by June it's done. You know, whatever we can do has been done. And so that's kind of if that gives you sort of an idea of what the, you know. Are you trying to work back to figure out when Halo 6 is going to come out? Well, if you hadn't started working yet. So, yeah, but yeah, that's
Who else? I've been neglecting this left side. Yes, sir.
How has, like, you being a character that so many people care about, like, affected your life?
Well, it's certainly made it interesting. He asked how being the voice of such an iconic character has affected me personally. It's been all good, I will tell you that. I can't think of any. One of the richest rewards of it, aside from the monetary part of it, has been this. Being able to meet so many fans to whom the character means so much. That's been tremendously rewarding and fun and interesting, and you know, some of the stories you tell me of your involvement with the game and how it brought, you know, brothers and sisters together, or even, I mean, I know a number of people who've gotten married over it. And I've always like, I want a disclaimer in there in case it doesn't work out, that I had nothing to do with it, you know. You know, it's certainly, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I've been able to travel all over the world because of it. So it's been, you know, tremendously exciting and rewarding and fun and interesting. And it's allowed me, in some ways, to sort of work some, you know, acting chops that I would not have otherwise been able to do. So anything that challenges you is worth doing. And it has certainly challenged me, you know, in a number of ways, and all to the good. So, you know, I would say that. Yeah.
Who else? Far left.
So, when you go into voice act, how do they set up the scene? Do they show you like the cut scene without any vocals, or?
In the first 3 games, no. I don't think I saw anything of Halo 1, 2, 3, or Reach when we were doing the sessions. In 4 and 5, yes. And usually you'll see things that are not done. You know, it's kind of cool because you get to see sort of behind the scenes, you know, settings, but you will, and not always, not for every line, but sometimes, especially in things that may be difficult for them to explain in setting the scene, they might have some sort of primitive visual to show you. And it's sort of interesting to see, because you're seeing levels of something that's being built, and say this is the end level, you're seeing it like here. And it's kind of cool, you know, to see, especially when you end up seeing the finished product and you're like, wow, that was like stick figures down here, and you know, now it ended up being what it is. Excuse me. So, but not always. In fact, I would say most times, I don't have a visual reference. It's usually just storytelling.
Who else? Dark blue.
In your entire career, like, when did you get the most nervous, and what did you do to calm those nerves?
Where is that voice? I can't find that person. Oh, sorry. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so what did you do to, like, in your entire career of voice acting or radio, like, what did you do, maybe specifically just in your Halo career, what did you do to calm your nerves, or when were you the most nervous?
Well, I don't think nervous would describe it, because after all, we are recording. So if it doesn't work, I get to do it again. You know, it's not like live performance where, you know, if you screw up, it's there for all the world to see. So I don't know that I have ever been nervous. I've been anticipatory, you know. I mean, I can't, you know, when you finally get that call that we're gonna go back in, it's so exciting. It's like, all right, you know, we get to jump back into this thing. Because that's the weird thing about it. You know, it's at least a 3-year cycle, and now in this case, it's gonna be more than that. So it's really exciting when you finally get to, you know that you're gonna be able to go back in. Then, the challenge, and that's what I would call it rather than nerves, is to reassume the role. And I had a voice coach years ago who would suggest that whatever you can do to get yourself into that role, do it. Whatever it is. And sometimes, in my case with Master Chief, it's a matter of, you know, you need to do something that's sort of tactile, that you can touch, that helps you to connect with that, you know, remind you who you are and what you're doing. So I have an old pair of cowboy boots that I got, I don't know, 25, 30 years ago. And they're beat to hell, and you know, they're really not fit for wearing, except when I record for Master Chief. So that's sort of, it sounds goofy because Master Chief wearing cowboy boots. What's up with that? But what it's a physical, tactile reminder to me that when that happens, I'm suiting up in it, you know. I mean, since I don't have a Mjolnir suit, you know, I need something that sort of registers in my head that this is where we're going. So that's what it does for me. And you know, she would say, whatever that is, you know, if it's a favorite shirt, if it's you know, some memory that you have that gets you back there. That's what you need. And with a recurring role, that's what you need. You need something that brings you back to that moment. Because it's not about just sounding like him. That's where I've had a couple of people this weekend have asked me this about voice acting in general. And I often say that, you know, it's not the quality of your vocal cords that determine whether or not you're going to be a good voice actor. It's the ability to bring what's here to here. And that's what needs to happen. If you can't tap your heart, and bring that emotion and feeling and whatever it is you're supposed to do to your performance, then your performance, I don't care how good your voice sounds, it's not going to be real because people won't believe it. And so, you know, that's the challenge of what you have to do. So whatever it takes, and if it's a stupid pair of cowboy boots, or if it's a shirt, or if it's some memory, you know, that tricks you into getting back there, then that's what you use. You use the tools that are available to you, whatever they might be.
Now, if anybody knows any artist friends, I would love to see some fan art of Master Chief in some cowboy boots. Make it happen. I will buy it.
Make it real.
Who else? Let's see this hand here.
Oh, yes. So is it you behind the visor?
Is it me behind the visor? Wow.
Name one of your favorite quotes from you.
One of my what?
Favorite quotes?
Oh. Well, the quote thing was sort of covered, you know, with you know, my favorite quotes are your favorite quotes, but is it me behind the visor? To me, the genius of the creation of Master Chief, and this is just my opinion, but you know, you try to think about what is it about him that has made him, you know, iconic, and I think part of it is you don't see his face. So I've always felt that part of the appeal of Master Chief, certainly in the beginning, was he was you. You know, he could be whatever, he could look like whatever you wanted him to look like. I don't think it's a coincidence when you grab his helmet and you look at his helmet, you see your reflection. And I've always thought that rather than to have, as they've done with other characters in other games, where there's some there's an artist rendering of what that character looks like. With Master Chief, he can be whatever you want. He can be a woman. You know, it's not. There's no predetermination. Well, his name's John, so I guess maybe that doesn't work. But you get what I mean. And I've always felt that that's a part of his appeal, and that's why you know, you can have. As I've heard from so many people, you can have this intimate relationship with this character because he's of your invention, and that's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. So.
Who else? Gentleman here.
What was your day like? I've always wanted to know this. What was your day like when you met the guy that won the F-150
I don't know how many people have seen these. We did Ford had an idea to do a commercial for their F-150. Oh no, I'm not even sure if it was for the F-150, but in any case, the idea was they wanted to tap into basically, you know, the gaming audience. And so the idea was you were going to spend a day with Master Chief, right, or the guy who plays Master Chief. So so they had this goofy setup of, you know, some guy won a contest and got to come out to my house, and we would have a day in the life, you know, and he'd follow me to the golf course, and he followed me to the dry cleaners, and, you know, all this stupid stuff. And so he's this totally geeked out fanboy, right? Who can't believe he's with Master Chief. The whole, and I'm like, dude, settle down. So anyway, that was the whole deal. Part of it was they tricked out an F-150 to look like a Raptor, to look like it was all, they put all this customized stuff on it. And it was parked out in front of my house. It was actually, the thing was actually shot at my actual house. And this Raptor sitting out in front of the house in little suburban Park Ridge, Illinois. And my neighbors, who don't know anything about what I do, nothing, and all of a sudden they're like out in the lawn, like, what the hell is going on here, And, but it was awesome, and actually they had a contest. I don't know if you know this. They had a contest. At the end of the contest, somebody actually won that F-150, which so now it's his cross to bear when he parks it in his driveway.
Who else? Young man. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, say again?
How do you feel about inspiring people all over the world?
Well, it's God, I don't know that happens, and I really, to be honest with you, it's the character that is an inspiration. I'm just lucky enough to be able to give him a voice, but I don't write the lines, and I didn't design the game, and my participation in it has, I can't take credit for that. I will, but sure, why not? But it's the writers and the developers. These are the people who give that character and give the game its heart and soul. It's an honor to hear things like that, but it is I can't really I would like to be able to represent him well. That's what I try to do. My number one goal when I do these things is don't embarrass the chief. Whatever you do, what's the medical term about first do no harm? Yeah, that's my goal whenever I come to a convention. First, do no harm.
All right. Yes, sir.
So you mentioned that you really enjoy the lore of the Halo franchise. What other franchises and universes whose lore you enjoy?
None. I'll be honest. I mean, like I said, I'm not a gamer, so I don't immerse myself.
Well, it doesn't necessarily need to be game.
Oh, okay. You mean just story-wise?
Yeah, just lore-wise, story-wise.
Well, Star Wars comes to mind. There's a pretty cool story going on there. I'm trying to think of other sort of franchises that would be. Star Trek, yeah, thank you. Hey, how about the new Patrick, what was it? Stewart. Reprising Picard. That's exciting, right? I can't wait to see what that's. So I guess that's going to be, years later, right? I mean, I don't think they're going to try to just put him back in control of the Enterprise, but that's cool. Wow, I'm excited about that. Thank you. Star Trek is I was a big Trekkie. I dug all that stuff, and those are the two that come to mind, right off the top of my head. How about Wade back there? Yeah.
Considering the time that's spent with the Human and Covenant War and all the characters that died throughout the series of the games, besides Cortana, to you, who would be the most tragic death that was in the game?
Excuse me, Sergeant Johnson. I think was that. I hated to see him go. And it is science fiction, so maybe they'll figure out a way. But that was for my money. I thought that was the first real sort of emotional gut punch in Halo. Would you agree with that? I mean, I thought that was, that was a real like, and sort of like, what? You know? It's like when they kill off characters in Game of Thrones. You know, I remember, I mean, that's what, sort of locked me into Game of Thrones. And you're talking about lore, Game of Thrones, #1. In terms of the story. When they killed, what's his name in the first season? Ned Stark.
Oh my God.
I remember watching, I was like, shit. He was the only good guy, for miles. Nobody good at all. I'm like, I can't believe they killed. What? What? And I was locked in at that point. I was like, I ain't never leaving this thing until I figure out what the heck is going on. But yeah, Sergeant Johnson was sort of, maybe not that dramatic, but I think that took a lot of people, certainly me, by surprise that he was, we hated to see him go, that's for sure.
Anybody on? Yes, sir.
So the transition working with Bungie to 343 wasn't hard for you to adapt to that?
It wasn't. It was challenging. It was a whole new group of people. You sort of, we had like a little routine going with Halo 1, 2, and 3 and Reach. There was sort of like, okay, here we, it's what we do, blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden, wow, Bungie's out, and now there's this thing called 343, and I don't know any of these people, and it was really, having to prove myself again, and which was weird. But I loved where they were going with it, and I think that's what re-energized me. And I would have been devastated if I couldn't have done Halo 4. Because it was like, finally, I got more than a sentence to say, but I loved where they were going to take this story, and because I always thought the relationship between Chief and Cortana was, there's so much there, and there's still a lot there that hasn't been tapped. And where are we going to go with this? Who are these two entities to each other? And that's something that still is a, kind of an interesting story as to where that's going to go. So, that was cool. It was a lot of fun.
All right, one more. Way back there, young man.
So, how long when have you started voice acting and why?
I can't recall the exact date I started voice acting. It was in Los Angeles. Well, actually, I used to work in Pittsburgh, and I think that was the beginning of. I really became interested in audio production. In fact, my first motivation when I was going to school was that's what I wanted to be a record producer. I thought that was a cool job to have. I mean, originally I was a drummer, and so that was a really cool job, but it didn't really feel like a job that was going to go anywhere, and I wasn't that good of a drummer, and so I thought, well, how can I? Because my love was music, and I was just that's what turned me on, and that's what motivated me, and that's where I wanted my career trajectory to go. So if I'm not going to be a drummer, if I can't be a rock star for a living, what can I be? And I thought, record producer. Now there's a guy who like gets a paycheck, and like. It's kind of like a regular job, but he's close to the music. And so how do I get in this? So I was in college, and so well, maybe I'll go to work for the local radio station, and that'll be an avenue, to get into record production, because at the time, there was no such thing as classes for that. I think there is now, but there wasn't then. And anyway, I got as far as being the DJ part, and my ego and the ham in me got the best of me, and I couldn't get past that part of it. But I still was interested in production, and I would produce commercials and do that kind of stuff, and I really liked splicing tape and making sound effects and all of that, and got into that. But then really thought that maybe I had an aptitude to do the voice part, and so when I was in Los Angeles, I really started pursuing voiceover. It was mainly commercial voiceover, and I got an agent, and started doing that kind of stuff. And so that was the beginning of my voiceover career that eventually led me to Halo.
Well, guys, unfortunately, that is all the time we have. Let's
And
hear
this
it
has been fun.
for Steve Downs.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, before we go, I have one question which has nothing to do with Halo, but has everything to do with the real world. How many of you here are old enough to vote? How many of you are going to vote? Okay, please, I'm not going to tell you who, but it's very important that we participate in this thing we call democracy. And so this will be the only time I'll ever say this. If you're not registered to vote, put down your game controller for one day, go register to vote, and in November, please vote. It means a lot to all of us. Thank you very much.